Recollections of an Outlaw. You're in the mood for something juicy, you say. Hate to break it to you, chum, but I ain't made of dough. I'd like a nice slab of meat as much as the next bloke, but I'm barely making do as is. We all are, in case you hadn't noticed. What? You're not hungry? You just want a juicy story to go with your drink. Then why'd you just say that to begin with? Give me a sec. I think I got one you like. A few months back, me and a bunch of other blokes went out on a raid. This puny little village. They didn't do much trade, just living off what they could grow, so no one figured we'd make out with much. Grab a little grub, plow some of the girls, that was the best anyone was hoping for. Business as usual, we killed the guys, had some fun with the girls, then killed them too. Nothing too interesting, nothing real exciting up to that point. But that changed when I busted into this one house. There's a man, a woman, and a little girl maybe 5 years old. No siblings, just the girl. A real small family for a village like that. Dad comes at me to protect the girl, then Ma tries to block me away. No surprise here, I killed them both. Couple unarmed farmers, easy as snapping a baby's neck. That left the kid. Wasn't like she could do nothing, so I didn't have to kill her. But you know how the stupid things get, crying like it's the end of the bloody world. So I figure I'll run her through before she starts howling at me, right? But get this. The kid smiled at me and said, "Where are you from, mister?" Couldn't believe my ears. "Girl, your parents were just killed by me, and I'm coming to kill you next." How the hell are you smiling? And how the hell are those the first words out of your tiny little mouth? Creeped me out, truth be told. So much so I lost all interest in killing her. So I dug around for anything worth taking, then went on my way. But this damn kid, try to leave and guess what? She fucking follows me. Doesn't want revenge or nothing, just smiling like a fool. I'm a patient bloke, but this was beyond the pale. I yelled at the stupid thing, "Why the hell are you following me? Piss off." And she gives me this confused look and says, "I'm bored. Everyone else stopped moving, so I got nothing else to do. But you're still moving, mister." My damn head was spinning. She was maybe 5, yeah? I can understand her being a little stupid, but she should have known right from wrong enough to know to be scared of me. You'd have to be out of your mind to come trotting after the bastard who just offed your parents. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what her problem was. She wasn't right in the head. I tried to get her to piss off, but she wasn't hearing it. The other guys started talking, maybe we should just neck her, right? That one guy says with a big smile, "Let's say we take bets on what it'd take to make the kitty cry." So we did just that. We started placing bets. Give her a good yell and she'll cry. Knock her around some, that'll do it. I say you ain't got a tooth or two. Rip off her nails one by one. And finally, plow her till she breaks. We went around, did everything we think of our absolute worst. Not like we ever pretended to be good people, but it ain't every day you see a bunch of grown men taking turns knocking the hell out of a 5-year-old girl. And hell, that by itself's a good drinking story if I ever heard one. But it keeps going. She never cried. No matter what we did. Not at once. She would groan and twist her face when we hit her, so she did feel pain. But even that was only for a second. After that, she'd be back to smiling like an idiot. Tell you the truth, she seriously creeped me the fuck out. I wanted to end just there and forget all about her. But the rest of the guys, they took a liking to her. Wanted to bring her back with us. I tried to talk him out of it, but one guy, he says, "What's the big deal? Ain't like we're adopting her. We'll have some fun, when we get bored, she's gone." And it's pretty damn hard to argue against that. If I kept fighting it, I'd look like I was trying to be the good guy or something. And so now we've got this kid in the crew. First month or so she's with us, everyone's treating her like their plaything. But after a little bit, that starts to change. They start being kind of nice to her. Giving her extra food, letting her join in on conversations, that sort of thing. She still creeped me out, sure. The way she never stopped smiling. But she wasn't ugly or nothing. Could be kind of cute even. Once she started talking with us more, I realized something. None of us knew that damn kid's name. So I asked her, and get this. She says that I'm me. Dead fucking serious. Not like I've been saying, the girl's always never made much sense. But this was on another level. So I press her, "No, what's your name?" But she just tilts her head and says the same thing. "I'm me." "So you're saying your name is me?" I ask, and she gives me this big fat grin and nods her head. Who Who the hell names their kid me? Her parents seemed like reasonable enough folks. They at least cared enough to try and protect her from me. They just run out of ideas trying to come up with a name for her, or what? As I'm thinking to myself, I see there's something sewn into the bottom of her shirt. It looked like writing, but I couldn't read for shite. So I call over the only educated guy in the crew and have him look at it. Turns out it was a name. Ceren. You name-made me, it's Ceren, I say. And she lights up like a fucking village we just got through with. Really? My name's Ceren? I never knew. I'd let out the biggest sigh of my life and say to her, "You're the dumbest broad I've ever known." About a month after we picked the girl up, we had a bit of trouble. There's this chubby bloke by the name of Marcos, and he starts getting this thing for her, yeah? I ain't one to get on a guy about what he gets his rocks off, but a 5-year-old girl? That just ain't right. Marcos was kinda slow in the head, always at the back of the pack, and mostly useless when we went out on jobs. The only reason we kept him around was because he made a good pack mule. He was annoying as all hell besides. Always saluting, saying aye aye like he thought we were a bunch of pirates or something. And he called everyone boss, because apparently that's the only form of respect he knew. Day after day, aye aye boss, and I'm on it boss, and let me massage your back boss, was enough to drive a man mad. And because he was the first one to talk to her, Ceren started imitating him. So now we got 2 buffoons running around talking like that. Obnoxious as it was, though, end of the day, that's all it was. But that changed when Marco started getting real fond of the girl. Every little thing we did, he'd go around telling us to be nicer to her, yeah? But far as we saw it, compared to when we first took her in, we were treating her pretty damn well. Of course, that's all relative. A proper slave probably still got less help from their master than we gave this girl. But remember, we only brought her along so we could have fun. We never intended to make her part of the crew, but Marcos wasn't having any of it. Son of a bitch actually snapped at us. "You'll pay if you don't stop right now, boss." Idiot wanted a fight, so we gave him a fight. The whole lot of us beat the ever-loving crap out of him, stomped his face in so bad you couldn't even recognize the poor bastard anymore. But that wasn't enough for him. His face a big bloody mess, Marcos said, "I won't let you lay another finger on Ceren, boss." Tell you the truth, I didn't think he had the sack. Then Ceren comes trotting in. Seems she heard the ruckus and wanted to see what was up. Marcos' eyes went wide and he yelled, "Stay back!" But the girl, she just stood there, same old stupid smile on her face. Seeing her come in, one of the other guys smirks, plops his ass down on Marcos' back and holds up a knife against his neck and says, "Hey Ceren, you like Marcos?" And with a big grin she answers, "Aye, boss." Through the swollen, bruised up mess his face was, you could just barely make out Marcos smiling. Next, the guy on his back says, "Then, would it make you sad if we roughed him up a bit more?" "What do you mean, rough him up?" "Cut off his fingers, scoop out his eyes, you know, have a little fun." "Fun is fun, why would that make me sad?" You hear that? I ain't making this up. The girl's still standing there smiling, and Marcos, he goes pale as a ghost. And he did it. He cut off his fingers. Ceren's still smiling. He gouged out his eyes. Still smiling. And finally, he slit Marcos's throat. Even as the blood spraying right into her face, she never once stopped smiling. Just before he kicked off, Marcos looked like he was thrown into the deepest, darkest pit of despair. I've seen the hope drain from God knows how many men's eyes, but that was on a whole nother level. And as you can imagine, I wasn't the only one Ceren creeped out anymore. Everyone felt the same way. She was so messed up, we all thought we might start turning into her if we kept her around any longer. So next city we land in, we sell Ceren off. And we all lived happily ever after, minus one twisted little girl. What do you think? Juicy enough for you? You feel sick? Sorry about that, chum. Thought you had a stronger stomach. I do wonder what Ceren's up to these days. She's still smiling like an idiot, or... Recollections of a vassal's wife. Good day to you too, sir. Thank you so much for all your hard work. Yes, that's correct. This is where our slaves were when they were stolen, as I described when I reported it. What? The number of stolen slaves I gave you doesn't match the number you heard from other sources? Ah. No, I had no intention of deceiving you. I simply assumed it wouldn't be a problem because I wasn't claiming we lost more than we did. Yes, I understand. I beg your pardon. I should have reported the number correctly. I will do so in the future, so please, relook the other way just this once. Why did I report fewer slaves were stolen? I imagine you would find that curious, yes. Why would I want less of their lost manpower returned to them indeed? It's quite simple. I don't think it would be any great loss if she were not to come back. Oh no, she was a fine worker. And she didn't cause any trouble either. You want to know about the girl? I doubt I'll be of any help to your investigation, but I don't mind telling you. I warn you, it's not a terribly pleasant story, though. Very well, as you wish, sir. We purchased her when she was about 5 years old, so she's been with us for quite some time. 8, maybe 9 years now. When we bought her, she was still too young to put to work. She was in good health, though, and always had the sweetest smile on her face, so I had little doubt she would do as she was told. Slaves tend to be so gloomy and depressing, you know. Not that I don't understand, but unlike many, we try not to mistreat our slaves. As long as they do their work, they have nothing to worry about. The best slaves, I think, are the ones who aren't so dreary as to be infectious and make us feel guilty. The girl's name was Ceren, and while she talked rather funny, she was as bright and cheerful as I had hoped. And she was always smiling from ear to ear. For a while, it felt like we had a brand new member of our family. I was so taken with her, I almost considered adopting her instead of keeping her as a slave. And how did I go from wanting to take her in to not caring if she didn't come back? It's rather difficult to explain, to tell you the truth. Yes, that's right, she never caused any trouble. She never stole anything, and she never refused to work. She never cried, and she never got upset. No matter what happened, she always did her work with a smile on her face. That sounds like the ideal slave? Yes, you would think so. And I have no complaints regarding her work. Neither did my husband nor our servants. I imagine I'm the only one who would be happy to never see her again. I started thinking the girl's peculiar about 2 years after we purchased her. Right around that time, one of our other slaves attempted to run away. Yes, that's right. As I said, we have never once mistreated our slaves. Other slave owners can learn a thing or two from us, I say. We tell our slaves when we buy them they will be set free as soon as they've worked enough to pay back what we paid for them. So he only had 10 years, and then he would have been free. But he chose to spit in the face of our generosity, and... My apologies, I've gotten off track, haven't I? The slave who ran was captured soon after. But trying to flee is one of the greatest transgressions a slave can commit against his master. As such, it was, as I'm sure you understand, necessary to punish him. But I assure you, we never mistreat. Yes, I'm sorry, I'll continue. So as I said, he had to be punished. My husband took a length of rope and used it as, a whip, I think it's called. He had all the slaves watch as he lashed the one that had tried to run. It was for their own sake. The other slaves needed to see what would happen if they attempted to flee. The lashing continued for a full day. All the slaves present reacted differently. Some averted their eyes, some cried, some looked on trembling. But it was clear they were afraid, which meant the punishment had served its purpose. For everyone except Ceren, that is. Yes, that's correct. She simply smiled. At first I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, but every time I looked over at her I saw the same thing. As the slaves being lashed screamed out in pain, Ceren didn't even flinch. She just stood there, smiling. Just looking at her gave me the chills. My husband thought I was curious as well, but he wasn't nearly as put off as me. She was 7 at the time and a hard worker, and he said there was no issue as long as she didn't cause any trouble. But that's completely misses the point, you know? She gave me the creeps. I wasn't comfortable with her around. But of course, my husband has the final say. I couldn't defy him. So I did my best to forget that day. I couldn't get the girl out of my mind, though, no matter how hard I tried. My gaze was drawn to Ceren, and I noticed quite a bit as I observed her more carefully. Say one of the slaves hurts himself while working. You might expect another slave to ask if he's alright, to help patch up the wound, to volunteer to take on his responsibilities for the day, to show concern and compassion. But Ceren, she would just smile and go on her way, not a word. She was hardly perfect either, is anyone though? And she would make mistakes occasionally. Everyone slips up, and we try not to make a huge fuss about it because we sincerely value our slaves and the work they... My apologies. In any case, we can't simply brush such mistakes off, so we make sure to admonish them whenever something happens to ensure that things run smoothly. But even as I scold her, Ceren's still smiling. As I'm sure you can imagine, it's hard not to feel as though you're being disrespected, so once I lost my temper and smacked her. It was only the once, though, I swear. I'm not a violent woman. I hate raising my hand to anyone. I was sure that, if nothing else, would make her cry. But still she smiled, with half her face red and swollen. I was so perplexed, I came out straight and asked her, why do you not cry? I just hit you. How can you keep smiling? And she said, why would I cry? I'm not sad about anything. Pressing the issue further, I discovered she'd definitely never felt bad for anyone in her life, including herself. Can you imagine? How terrible is that? It's not right. So I decided I needed to teach her how she was supposed to act. I taught her that, when she saw someone get hurt, she needed to show sympathy. That, when she was being reprimanded, she needed to show remorse and a desire to improve. Ceren listened carefully to every word I said, and before long she started putting my teachings into practice. At first, I was relieved. Ceren was finally a regular girl. She showed concern, compassion, regret, but it was all an act. She acted sad when someone got hurt, and then she turned around and was smiling again. It never lasted more than a few moments. Emotions were but a flash, there, then gone before you realized. It wasn't normal. It wasn't human. She didn't genuinely feel sympathy. Beyond the surface, she was no different than the girl who smiled as a fellow slave was being whipped before her eyes. Ceren had learned nothing. Unable to bear it anymore, I went to my husband again. I told him she wasn't normal. There was something wrong with her. I implored him to do something, but my pleas fell on deaf ears. She was a good worker, he said. We couldn't ask for a better slave, he said. Oh, but he couldn't have been any more wrong. He wasn't the one who had to look after her. He had no idea what she was like. How unsettling it was merely being in her presence. How deeply upsetting it was. My apologies. I'm fine now. As you can imagine, I'm not particularly fond of Ceren. So it was a weight off my shoulders when I heard she was one of the stolen slaves. Why are you giving me that look? You think I'm the one who has the problem? You think there's nothing wrong with her, just like my husband. One look at her smile and you know that I'm telling the truth. That she's simply not a little eccentric. That there's more to it than that. I can't take it anymore. Is there no one who will understand me? Recollections of a prostitute. Kick back for a bit, why don't you? I'm in the mood to talk. Nah, I'm not gonna charge extra. I don't bill by the hour. Oh, you never thought of me as a talkative girl? Guess that just goes to show how much I've taken to you. No, I'm not trying to butter you up, I swear. I've been thinking a lot these days about the place I last worked at. And it's really been getting me down. Can't think of anyone I want with me at times like this more than you. Did something happen there? I've been waiting for that question. It's a bit of a long story. Hope you don't mind. There's a city about 10 days by carriage from here. You know the one, right at Lord Barnier's doorstep. The place he used to work was there, and every so often the Lord would summon a few of the prettiest girls to come to his manor. I'm hardly the best-looking girl around, even out here, so I was never one of the chosen. But honestly, I'm lucky for it. It's not the kind of thing you want to go mentioning in public, but the Lord has some, unsavory hobbies. Every girl who ever came back said that there's no amount of money you can pay me to do that again. Word is, the Lord has a taste for torturing and killing his slaves. Not just if you screw up either. If he's in the mood and he as so much as sees you, you could be dead. He's got a dungeon under his manor too, they say, and you can hear wailing coming from down there at all times of the day. The Lord enjoys all different kinds of torture. Flaying, dismemberment, boiling, the water cure. Oh, you don't know what the water cure is. I'm sure he uses others, but I've only heard bits and pieces secondhand. He only ever killed the slaves, though. The girls all came back in one piece. On the outside, at least. Being forced to watch people get brutally murdered did a real number on most of them. Some were so broken by the experience they couldn't work anymore. So the Lord, apparently, he hosts banquets at his manor every so often. But here's the kicker. He only invites nobles that are into the same sort of thing. He's not the only one. We're being governed by God knows how many twisted freaks. I don't even want to think about it. Anyway, something like 2 years ago, I think it was, a couple of girls came back looking a good 20 years older, and they told us about one of these banquets. Most of the time, it's just him and his noble friends torturing slaves, but this one was different. There was a girl, maybe 10 years old, chained up naked on this makeshift altar. But here's where it gets crazy. The girl who they call a saint was covered in scars head to toe. They cut her up and filled their cups with her fresh blood. But she didn't cry. She didn't even flinch. She just sat there quietly. And when she did speak, it was to condemn them as blasphemers and sinners. Can you imagine? Chained up like that, and she's scolding her captors, telling them God will punish them for their actions? I wouldn't have the guts. Maybe she was raised at a church or something. But I'm guessing that's got something to do with why they called her a saint. Oh yeah, the slave revolt was around that time too. You hear about that? Just rumors. Well, they're not just rumors, it really happened. Because of the revolt, the girls who'd been there made it out in mostly decent shape. And for a while afterwards, the Lord didn't send for anyone. I'm guessing he was too preoccupied patching up the holes in his manor and finances to spend much time fooling around. So we're changing topics for a sec. But about that same time, this dark-skinned girl, kind you don't see too often around these parts, started working here. Name was Ceren. She was pretty, always had the widest smile on her face, and real friendly. Seemed like the kind of girl who'd draw in a lot of business. And I was right. Within a couple weeks, she had already picked up a few regulars, and her manager was going on about how happy he was with this purchase. About a month in, though, we started getting complaints from one of her customers. He said she was being condescending with him. I brought it up with Ceren, but she said she had no idea what he was talking about. So I assumed the customer was just imagining it, or full of it. You get guys like that all the time in this business. No, don't worry, you're not one of them. But the complaints kept coming in, which made me think, maybe there was something going on. So I decided to talk things out with the guys making the complaints this time, get a better picture of what the problem was. Most of them were pretty useless and vague, but the common issue seemed that her behavior didn't make sense. One guy came in after bungling a huge trade deal, hoping to find some comfort, and he spilled his guts to Ceren. But instead of trying to console him, she laughed. You can see why he wouldn't be thrilled about that. When I asked Ceren about it, she gave me a confused look and said, I thought he was telling a funny joke. There was no malice, nothing. She genuinely didn't understand how the customers wanted her to act. Can't run a business like this without a solid customer base, so making sure everyone leaves happy is crucial to operation. Which is probably not something I should be talking about with a customer, but, well, you're special, so cut me some slack, okay? Anyway, something had to be done about Ceren. We couldn't risk more dissatisfied customers. So I figured the best thing to do was give her some training. Here's how you should react if a client brings up such and such, and here's what you should say if they're looking depressed or upset or whatever. How and when to be reactive, and how and when to be proactive. Ceren was a quick study, so it wasn't long before she was putting my lessons to work. I would have been happy with just reducing the number of complaints to a more normal level, but Ceren improved so dramatically we heard nothing but praise from then on. Say a patron was looking a little blue, she'd give them a big pouty face and say, What's the matter? You can tell me anything. Oh no, that's terrible. I feel awful for you. Is there anything I can do to help? Anything at all. Just this constant stream of comfort, almost to the point of being excessive. She had gone from bright and energetic to sweet and sympathetic as well. On the surface, anyway. Every condolence she offered was completely fake. She was acting, and I knew because I was the one who taught her how. There was nothing wrong with that, though. We're not in the business of genuine human interaction, after all. Thinking back on it now, though, I probably should have taught her what the real thing felt like, rather than just how to fake it. About a year later, the Lord started saying for girls again. We all knew he was a madman, that was common knowledge. But he paid well, and everyone always came back alive. So we reluctantly complied. But we were wrong. He did kill the girls this time. One came back alive, but she was missing an eye and half an arm. She was in no condition to go back to work. Even just going about her daily life would be difficult. We were aghast. But things only got worse from there. The next time the Lord sent for us, we panicked. For one, no amount of money was worth what waited at the Lord's manor. And two, it was impossible to run a business if your employees kept getting killed. So we attempted to turn him away. But his messenger simply said, the Lord will not take no for an answer. We either complied, or were all executed for treason. What little hope we had left crumbled. We were screwed either way. So we fought amongst ourselves like a pack of wild animals. I'm too ugly, you go. I have more regulars, you go. No one likes you anyway. Pure chaos. I was, of course, part of the brawl. And here's where she comes in. Ceren. Everyone's in a big mob. clawing each other's faces off, and she just tilts her head and asks, "Why are you so afraid of the Lord?" Seeing that stupid, clueless look on her face, just about everyone in the room burst a vessel. "Alright, we'll send her," we said, and it was decided. Ceren smiled, not bothered in the slightest, gave us a cheery "see you later," and went off to the Lord's manor. To no one's surprise, she never came back. We figured she'd been killed. A week or so later, the messenger showed up again asking for more girls. By this point, the manager was furious. He demanded to speak with the Lord in person, saying if something wasn't done, the whole brothel would collapse, and he'd put his life on the line to prevent that. Seeing him so resolute, I felt a newfound respect for him. I also thought he was a complete idiot, but I still respected him. After all, there was no way the Lord would be open to negotiation. That much was obvious from everything he'd done. The manager and a few assistants set off for the Lord's manor, and about 2 weeks later he returned. Or his head did. His assistants managed to avoid death, so they were able to tell us what had happened. No one was exactly thrilled to hear more twisted tales about the Lord, but we listened anyway, and no one could imagine what they told us. Ceren was there, with the Lord, alive and well. Not only had she not been killed, he had apparently taken quite a liking to her. The manager was surprised to see her too, but he figured it was as good a chance as he would ever get. If Ceren would speak up in his favor, the Lord might actually listen to her. So emboldened, the manager pled with the Lord, begging him not to harm the girls, that we wouldn't be able to send anyone else otherwise. And for attempting to oppose him, the Lord ordered the manager be executed. The manager, however, entreated Ceren for help. "If you have a heart, Ceren, please, tell the Lord not to take my life. I have people who need me." Without hesitation, Ceren nodded, saying, "You think you could maybe let him live?" It seems a bit, I don't know, disrespectful for a whore to speak to the Lord like that, but he didn't get upset with her or anything. He really had taken a liking to her, apparently. The Lord nodded and said, "I'll offer you a choice, then. Ceren, you may have whichever one of the following you prefer. Either I spare this man's life, or you can have my full attention for the rest of the day." The manager and his assistants were all baffled. How was that even a decision? How was a man's life, a man who had employed her for more than a year, no less, comparable to a little attention? But they were even more baffled by Ceren's reaction. She thought about it for a second, and then blushing, she said, "I want your attention." Everyone's jaws dropped. The manager about burst into tears. He begged her to reconsider, to have pity. He asked her what he had ever done to wrong her. "You never did me wrong," she said. "Then why don't you have him spare me?" "I just want his attention more." "And you're willing to let me die for that?" What's so scary about dying anyway? Not only did she not comprehend sorrow, she also seemed to be devoid of anything resembling fear as well. Which explained why she had so much trouble sympathizing with people suffering, why she was always smiling, no matter how bad things got. Without her manager, the brothel went to hell. His son took over, but he didn't give a damn about any of the girls. All he cared about was if he had enough booze to keep himself perpetually smashed. So figuring I had a better chance elsewhere, I left everything behind and ran, leaving my future in fate's hands. Fate was kind to me, and I managed to make it here. They come to me in my dreams sometimes, though. I still see the faces of the poor girls we sent off to the gallows. What? Where am I again? Awake again, are you, whore? Who are you, sir? It would seem your memories have not fully recovered. Allow me to remind you how you got here, then. No, wait. It's right on the tip of my brain. Let's see, I was at the brothel, and I was invited to the Lord's place, I got brought to a big city. Then I was taken to the Lord's castle. The Lord called me into his room, and then you strangled me. Indeed. Your memory has returned without problem. I'm super duper good at remembering things. Wait. Why did you strangle me? To test my theory. Your theory? Of what? That you're mad. Mad? About what? Not that kind of mad. First of all, I never just bring one whore to my quarters. I brought you here because you piqued my personal curiosity. You mean you're having orgies in here every day? Wowzers, you got some serious stamina. Not being alone with one person reduces the chance of an assassination attempt. That makes sense. It's pretty tough being the Lord, huh? So, what are you curious about little old me for? The other day, you and a handful of other whores attended the torturing of a slave, if you recall. I made you all watch as he died. But you didn't seem affected in the slightest. Crap, I'm so sorry. For what? I wasn't sad enough, was I? The nice farm lady and the girl at the brothel taught me how to be sad and how to be angry. But if I'm not careful, I forget. I'm sorry for not being sad like I was supposed to. As I said, you piqued my interest. Had you sobbed and screamed like any other whore, we wouldn't be having this conversation. What? So me not being sad wasn't bad? That it wasn't. No one's ever said that to me before. I always thought you unusual, but I couldn't be certain about what you were without getting more personal. Which is why I brought you here to test that theory. You don't fear death, do you, whore? It's not just death. I've never felt sad or scared about anything, ever. I didn't even know sad or scared were things people felt at all until someone told me. But now I know all about them and how you're supposed to act when you feel them. I just don't know what they actually are. Truly fascinating. Tell me more. What do you want to know? Let's see. Tell me your whole life story. Tell me everything as far back as you remember. Wow. No one's ever been this interested in me. This is super nice. Alrighty then, I'll tell you everything. Don't hesitate to conk out if you get bored. And ta-da, here I am. What'd you think? As boring as I thought it'd be? Hardly. That was easily the most engrossing childhood story I've ever heard. Woohoo! Smiling as your parents are killed before your eyes. I'm hardly one to talk, but you're one thoroughly heartless girl. I still wish I could do that over. I really love my mom and dad, and the nice farm lady taught me you're supposed to be sad when people you love die. That's why you want a do-over? What? You're incapable of experiencing sorrow, no? Feigning it for the occasion won't change the fact you don't actually feel sad about losing them. I guess you're right. I can pretend, but I still don't know what it feels like. I don't understand why people are so afraid of death to begin with. I mean, pain isn't fun, I get that much. But if you don't let it bother you, it's not that big a deal. Plus, once you die, you get to go to heaven. So don't get what there is to be afraid of. Not everyone goes to heaven. That's right. But still, I'm sure there are plenty of fun things to do in hell. Fascinating. You truly are twisted to your very soul. But I do sometimes feel disappointed. Do tell. Like, I sometimes wish I could eat my mom's supper again. And I feel left out when everyone's talking about how weird I am. Maybe sad is just like an even stronger version of that. I get the impression your entire experience of negative emotion is fundamentally distorted, so I don't know if you can say that. Ceren. Would you like to remain with me? Normally I send whores back to where they came from when I'm done with them. But I'm offering you the chance to stay here with me. Are you asking for my hand in marriage? What do I do? What do I do? I went from whore to the Lord's wife in 3 seconds flat. Fool. I would never take a mere prostitute as a concubine. Drat. I am, however, fond of you, so I'm offering you a place in my house. So you're saying you'll actually want me around? Even knowing what kind of person I really am? You could say that, yes. Wow, no one's ever actually wanted me before. As promised, Ceren, you will have my full attention for the rest of the day. Honestly, it shouldn't surprise me anymore how twisted you are. Twisted so far, in fact, you're the most sincere and honest person in the land, to a fault. You hardly even gave that man's life a second thought. The look on his face as he died was magnificent. You are a cruel girl. I didn't do anything wrong, no matter what you say. I didn't steal anything. I didn't kill anyone. I try to stay out of everyone's way as much as possible. So you actually have some concept of right and wrong? Which means you understand that I am a wicked man. I was taught the difference, yes. Fascinating. However, simply knowing the difference is of no use. If you don't feel the repulsion it's supposed to elicit. Knowing full well that I'm acting maliciously, still you still selfishly chose my affection, sentencing that man to death. That's not what No, I guess you're right. I guess I did let him die for my own selfish desires. Looks like I've still got a lot to learn. No, you stay exactly the way you are. As I've said before, you don't need to put up a facade around me. Don't act sad if you're not sad. Don't act angry if you're not angry. Don't feign pity for someone you don't care about. Be you. But everyone says Your natural self neither disgusts nor disturbs me. In fact, I greatly prefer you that way. No matter how many slaves I kill and torture for my own entertainment, you never leave my side. You happily accept me no matter what I do. I would rather not lose that. Don't stand so far away. Sit down beside me. I have allowed you to stay here for a month now, and in that time you've been a constant source of entertainment. And you've expressed no desire to leave either, despite being well aware what kind of man I am. The same goes for you, Barnier. You want me to stay even though I'm such a weirdo. The difference between you and I, though, is that I kill and you do not. You know, I've been wondering. What? Why do you like killing so much? It would seem your perception of me is slightly inaccurate. It is not the act of killing I enjoy, but the look of dread and despair on a man's face as his life is ripped away. There's a difference? In your mind, perhaps not. I'd kind of like to know what it's like in your mind, then. I told you my story. Maybe you could tell me more about you, Barnier. Not that I blame you if you don't want to tell a prostitute like me. You're not a prostitute anymore. I'm not? Then what am I? You're my property. That sounds super nice. So, to answer your question, I was not always the man I am today. I had several brothers, though I was the eldest. As such, I was the first in line of succession. There should have been no question as to who the rightful heir was to the house. But my father, the previous lord, wanted my brothers to succeed him instead. Without any reason to pass over me, though, he would have faced significant opposition and put the family's reputation and legitimacy at risk. I was neither infirm nor mentally challenged, but rather extremely talented, which gave my father no leverage to deny me the throne. The one thing I lacked was sycophantry. Seeing people try to butter each other up made me physically sick. It seemed to me the last kind of behavior royalty should be engaging in. I believe that merely possessing leadership abilities should be sufficient for ruling effectively. But in this world, only those who can win others' favor make it anywhere. Only those who can make themselves look good and their peers look like fools. Those who claim others' achievements as their own, who can appear to have more power than they actually do. My father and brothers forsook me, making an attempt on my life. Because they could not legitimately remove me as the rightful heir, they could only kill me if they wanted their way. I was fortunate enough to survive the attempt, but I still carry the scar today. You mean the big one on your back? That's right. You're surprisingly observant. I was in danger of not just losing the lordship, but my life. I was left with three choices. To let them kill me, to flee and live in poverty, or to kill them first. I was born to rule, though, so in reality, I only ever had one choice. I murdered my father and all my brothers, leaving me as the only one in the line of succession. But becoming the Lord did not immediately win me everyone's favor, Distant relatives crawled out of the woodwork to claim my throne as rightfully theirs. The people demanded I satisfy their every whim and fancy. And even my attendants tried to push their own agendas. The whole affair quickly grew tiring. Dozens were clamoring for a say in matters I could easily handle myself, so I silenced them. Before long, the prodding voices had become corpses, and it was somewhere around that time that I found myself intrigued by fear. Fear is a wonderful thing, an incredibly effective silencer that spreads like a plague. Sufficient application would preemptively stop everyone from interfering. Fear strips man of all his will. When it became apparent to me that one did not have to be a great leader to rule effectively, all the time I had spent in my younger days working to improve myself felt like an incredible waste. Fear became the centerpiece of my rule, and as I continued to employ it, I began to derive great pleasure from the despair it instilled in others. Men trembled at the sight of me. They bowed their heads and abandoned their dignity. They begged me to spare their lives. And what an exquisite sight it was, every single time. Enrapturing. You were born into your madness, Ceren, but I was molded into mine. That's neat. But Lord Barnier, wouldn't that make me a bad match for you? I'm not scared of you at all. Man is a curious beast, you see. Once everyone feared me, I then came to seek those who did not. You sure are hard to please. You make it sound like I'm merely a picky child. Though I suppose there's little difference in your eyes. There were a number of others among the nobles who had, like me, strayed from the path. Hardly a surprise given what life as a noble is like. So I started throwing banquets, inviting those who would be interested. These parties were to serve two purposes. The first, obviously, being for my own amusement. The second, to find those with similar tastes and bring them into my circle. I found little success with the latter, however, despite my rather zealous attempts at recruitment, so I no longer waste the effort. You weren't able to make any friends, then? No, I was not. The other nobles had no interest in getting their own hands dirty. They only wanted to watch, gain their titillation from a safe distance. Not a single one shared the same madness as me. Ceren. You are far better than any of them. Thanks? What are you squirming about? I thought nothing bothered you. I am capable of getting flustered, thank you. There is something deeply wrong with you. You're the one who decided to throw that curveball, Lord Barnier. Enough with the formalities already. You're not a whore anymore. You're allowed to use my name. That is your name, though. You don't know your own lord's full name, do you, Ceren? What? Answer the question, girl. I'm sorry. Allow me to help. I will only say this once, so don't forget it. My name is Jean-Francois Barnier, firstborn son and rightful heir of the Barnier family. Got it memorized. That's a really long name, though. I think I'll call you Franny. That rolls off the tongue nicer. I assume I can take that cryptic chuckle as an okay. Only if you wish to be hanged. Call me Francois. Ceren. Get up, Ceren. I swear, you spend every moment you're not otherwise occupied sleeping. I love sleeping. I said get up, you feeble-minded Nimrod. Ow! You didn't have to hit me, yeesh. There are nicer ways to wake a girl up, you know. Be grateful I only hit you hard enough to wake you. I swear, the church may have to redefine sloth if they ever meet you. The bed's so comfy, though. You do realize the blood of dozens of women has seeped into every fiber. Comfy's still comfy, though. That That wouldn't bother you, would it? So what's up, Francois? You need me for something? Yes, I have a favor to ask of you. A favor? Of me? What is it? I'll do anything. Without even hearing what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. You say the word and I'll do it, Francois. And what if I asked you to take your own life right here? Just give me the knife. I should honestly be more used to this by now. Why wouldn't I do anything for you, Francois? I love you. No one's ever cared for me like you before. No one's ever wanted me as much as you. You're happy with me as I am, despite me missing all the most important pieces. Again, I really shouldn't be so surprised. Fear not, though. I won't be asking you to die today. How much harder is it going to be, then? I hope you don't want me to kill anyone. It would be my first time, and I'm not sure I could pull it off properly. You're at the bottom of my list of prospective assassins. I doubt you could successfully smother a baby. Although you could probably cause a great deal of death, I imagine. I would like to make you into a mole. So you want me to dig holes? In a sense. There's been word of unrest building in the city of late. Money and resources gathered below the table. Murmurings of resistance being organized. So a bunch of baddies. Precisely. I want you to go down to the city and try to find as many baddies as you can, then report back to me. Can you do that? I can try. Excellent. A whorehouse would be the best place for you to start gathering information, I think. All I need you to do is deliver reports. Anything more involved would probably cause that empty head of yours to burst. I just realized if I go into the city, I won't be able to see you as often, Francois. Does that displease you? A whole lot. I bet this is what being sad feels like. In your twisted mind, perhaps so. How about this? I will have a servant act as a regular client of yours. He will pretend to be a well-off merchant. At regular intervals, he will patronize the brothel, requesting your services and bringing you back to his residence. He'll pay well enough that they won't mind if you're gone for a few days, during which time you can come back to the manor and see me. How does that sound? I love it! Next, we need to discuss how you present yourself. Although you're free to be yourself in my presence, you will need to put on a suitable act down in the city. Yeah, I forgot about that. Now I'm getting butterflies. You spent years doing precisely that before you came here. But I didn't have you count on me to do a good job of it back then, Francois. Allow me to offer you a piece of advice, then. I'm all ears. Freely tell others about the misfortunes of your upbringing. I don't think I had a bad childhood, though. You may not, but others will. Your parents murdered as you watched, taken captive by the men who did it. Tell people your story, but don't act overly dejected. Why not? Won't people think there's something wrong if I'm not sad? People will not think it's more unusual if you get people will think it's more unusual if you get too dramatic, because it's so far out of line with your regular disposition. Good acting is subtle, not overdone. Oh. People will feel a great pity for you when they hear of your past. And then they will see your exuberance as a sign you fought and found the strength of will to move past your ill fortune. They will be impressed, taken with you. So you needn't exaggerate your performance. Just give it a little bit of flavor. As long as you don't tell anyone those emotions are beyond your grasp, no one will have any reason to suspect otherwise. Neato. I'm feeling a lot better about this now. I expect you won't disappoint me. Aye aye, boss. So hey, Francois? What is it? What would you do if, hypothetically speaking, if, when I go down into the city, I learn what sadness and fear feel like? I would kill you, because I no longer have any interest in you. Awesome. I'm just glad you didn't say you'd kick me out. Every girl dreams of being killed by the man she loves. No, they do not. You want me to kill you. If it comes down to it, I guess. Though really, I'd rather be with you forever. Into the room, Ceren, now! You're gonna yank my arm off! I wouldn't have to if you would move. Listen very carefully. You stay in this room until everything has blown over. Do not open the door for anyone. But is this what I think it is? You are only able to leave the room if I tell you it's safe, or the manor goes completely silent. And if someone breaks down the door, tell them you're being held captive by the Lord. My predilections are well known among the people. No one will suspect you're lying. I must go now. Farewell, Ceren. I rather enjoyed our time together. Wait, don't go. I've got an idea, Francois. We could escape through that window there. Tie the sheets up into a rope and climb down. Then we can go somewhere far away where nobody will find us. I do not have that liberty. Why not? Because I am the lord of this land. I was born to be the lord. I murdered my own family to keep my claim to this title. And I will not abandon it until my final breath. I was a fool and a tyrant, neither a great leader nor a great man, but I still bear the responsibility of my role. Fleeing is not an option. I never thought you were a tyrant. The rest of my lordship would disagree with you. I used fear as a weapon of control, murdering slaves for fun and prioritizing my own desires over the needs and lives of my people. Do you have a better word for what I am? Whereas you can grasp the difference between good and evil, but lack the requisite emotions to give those concepts meaning. I knowingly chose to stray from the path of righteousness. But didn't you say you could run things just fine with fear? Didn't you say you could... that it was very effective? Indeed, you can run things exceedingly well with fear. Though I never said you could do so forever. I first saw signs that people were turning against me 3 years ago. While I did what I could to crush the seeds of revolt before they grew, it would seem I missed a few. If you knew this was coming, couldn't you have stopped it? I have traveled so far down the wicked path, it would be nigh impossible for me to find my way back into the light. Which means all I could do is continue on and see what awaited me at the end. I could never play the benevolent ruler, though. Those people are inscrutable to me. They all appear to be either ravenous beasts or feeble-minded swine. Were I able to have any love for my own people, perhaps things could have turned out differently. I can't stay in here and wait, Francois. I want to be with... You will do as I say, girl. What's gotten into you, Ceren? Death is supposed to be meaningless to you. You do not experience sorrow over loss. But should I not come back, go on smiling. Do not think I will simply let them walk in and kill me. I have dozens of skilled guards, and I can handle a sword myself as well. Far better than any mere peasant. They're getting closer. Now remember, you are not to leave this room, understood? You are my property, and property does not defy the will of its master. And what if I do come out? Ceren, you will not be of any help to me out there. And should you obstruct me in any way, I will not hesitate to kill you. You do not have a choice. Is that clear? Francois. What? Time is running short. I love you. I will always place myself, the Lord Jean-Francois Barnier, above anything else in this world. And you second. Wait, second? That's kinda super crazy wow, isn't it? Whoa. I'm shaking a bit here. I've never felt this way before. Is this what being scared feels like? This is a lot worse than I imagined. It hurts real bad, like someone's sitting on my chest. I can hardly even breathe right. But it's kinda really wonderful. I can't do this. I can't be away from him.